In the chaotic energy looming in the atmosphere of 2025, it seems that the destructive forces have landed in Congo, causing havoc in recent weeks. As the year unfolds with global unrest, the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, is experiencing unprecedented turmoil, with both a mysterious pandemic and a horrific explosion that has left the nation in fear and chaos. February proved to be a particularly devastating month for the country, as both incidents have shaken the people to their core. A mysterious epidemic. The first catastrophe began quietly in late January, when a strange illness emerged in the small town of Boloko, located in the northwest of the Democratic Republic of Congo. What started as a few isolated cases of sudden sickness quickly escalated, leading to the deaths of several residents. Within a matter of weeks, the outbreak spread to nearby towns, and by February 27th, the disease had already claimed 60 lives and infected over 1,000 people. The symptoms of this mysterious illness are unlike anything the health authorities have encountered. Victims typically experience fever, pain, vomiting, and diarrhea, rapidly deteriorating within just 48 hours of the onset of symptoms. This rapid progression of the disease is what has caused the greatest concern, as it challenges even the most prepared healthcare systems. WHO officials have confirmed that the disease develops much faster than expected, with a death rate of 12.49%, far surpassing the fatality rate of COVID-19. Though initial tests for Ebola, Marburg, and other hemorrhagic fever diseases came back negative, some samples showed signs of malaria infection. The first wave of deaths, particularly in Boloko, involved 3 children who, before falling ill, had eaten a bat. Shortly after, they developed symptoms resembling hemorrhagic fever and died within 48 hours. This points to the possibility of a zoonotic transmission, where the disease could have been passed from animals, such as bats, to humans. The health department's investigation suggests that the outbreak could have originated from contaminated water sources or even mass poisoning, though no definitive cause has been found yet. In addition to the health crisis, the WHO is concerned about the escalating humanitarian situation. Congo's healthcare system is already under significant strain, with many hospitals ill-equipped to handle such a large-scale outbreak. The country's population is vulnerable, particularly in rural areas where access to healthcare is limited. The spread of this mysterious disease, combined with the ongoing epidemic of malaria, is overwhelming the region, leaving thousands of Congolese at risk. A horrific explosion. As if the pandemic wasn't enough of a nightmare, the violence in the region escalated further on February 27th. In Bukavu, the capital of South Kivu province, a horrific explosion occurred during a public rally organized by the M23 rebel group. The group, which has been fighting the Congolese government for control of the region, had gathered with local civilians to celebrate their capture of the city. The celebration, however, turned to tragedy as 2 bombs went off in quick succession, followed by heavy gunfire. The explosion killed at least 11 people, with another 65 injured, many critically. The attack was a brutal reminder of the ongoing conflict between the Congolese government and the M23 rebels, who have seized control of large parts of eastern Congo, including vital trading towns. While the M23 claimed that the attack was orchestrated by the Congolese government as part of a strategy to target civilians, the government pointed the finger at foreign forces. Both sides remain locked in a bitter dispute over the responsibility for this atrocity, which has only further deepened the instability in the region. The consequences of this attack are deeply disturbing. The victims' bodies were scattered across the area, and the injured were rushed to overcrowded hospitals where medical resources are already in short supply. The people of Bukavu, caught in the middle of a violent insurgency, are now faced with the aftermath of this senseless act of terror. For many, this explosion marks yet another tragic chapter in a prolonged conflict that has brought little but suffering to the Congolese people. In recent times, the Democratic Republic of Congo has endured a series of devastating disasters, each compounding the nation's challenges. In May 2023, the DRC was struck by catastrophic floods in the villages of Bushushu and Nyamukubi in South Kivu province. Heavy rainfall led to landslides and flooding, resulting in at least 440 deaths and leaving over 2,500 people missing. President Felix Tshisekedi declared May 8th a national day of mourning to honor the victims. Subsequent landslides in North Kivu province caused additional casualties, including 10 deaths in Lubero and at least 6 at the Songambele mine, with many miners unaccounted for. Compounding these tragedies, a new highly contagious strain of Mpox, monkeypox, was identified in the DRC. This variant exhibits increased transmissibility, raising significant public health concerns. The outbreak poses challenges for containment, especially amid regional violence and limited resources. The DRC continues to grapple with armed conflicts, notably involving groups like the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF, an Islamist militant group linked to the Islamic State. In a recent attack, ADF rebels targeted the village of Ngohi Vuyinga in North Kivu province, resulting in the deaths of at least 9 villagers, displacement of dozens, and destruction of several homes. The region's security situation remains critical, with over 100 armed groups vying for control over mineral-rich areas, leaving approximately 7 million people displaced due to ongoing violence. The Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, has long been a battleground for a variety of armed groups, each with their own distinct origins, objectives, and affiliations. Among the most prominent are the M23, March 23rd movement, and the Allied Democratic Forces, ADF. These groups have shaped the complex security landscape in eastern Congo, and their interactions, along with those of other armed factions, highlight the region's instability. M23 is a rebel group primarily composed of Tutsi soldiers who broke away from the Congolese army in 2012. The group's actions have been rooted in addressing the grievances of the Tutsi community, as well as seeking control over mineral-rich territories in the eastern part of the DRC. M23 has also allegedly received support from Rwanda, though both M23 and Rwanda have denied this claim. The group's objectives involve not only fighting for ethnic and political rights, but also capitalizing on the region's natural resources. In recent years, M23 has forged alliances with other armed factions, including the Congo River Alliance, led by Corneille Nangaa, a former electoral chief. This alliance aims to challenge the current government, restore order, and address perceived issues with governance. The ADF, on the other hand, is an Islamist rebel group that originally emerged in Uganda but has since moved into the DRC. The group has pledged allegiance to ISIS and is involved in violent attacks against both civilians and military targets, primarily in the North Kivu province. The ADF's goals include establishing an Islamic State in the region and exploiting the DRC's mineral wealth to fund its operations. Their brutal methods have led to significant civilian casualties and widespread displacement. In addition to M23 and the ADF, the DRC is home to a variety of other armed groups with distinct motivations. The Mai Mai militias are among the most notable. These groups have emerged as local self-defense organizations, often in response to ethnic conflicts, land disputes, and perceived threats from other factions. Some Mai Mai groups aim to protect their communities, while others engage in criminal activities like mining exploitation and extortion. Another major group is the Raya Mutomboki, a coalition of various Mai Mai factions. Operating in South Kivu, they are known for their internal divisions and have been involved in both defensive and offensive operations. The proliferation of armed groups in the DRC is driven by several interrelated factors. One key factor is ethnic and community tensions. Historical grievances, competition for resources, and territorial disputes have fueled the formation of militias that seek to advance specific ethnic or community interests. Economic incentives also play a significant role, with the DRC's vast mineral wealth attracting armed groups eager to control mining operations. This has led to exploitation and trade of valuable resources, which in turn funds further violence. Additionally, the weak presence of the central government in eastern Congo has created power vacuums, allowing armed groups to operate with relative freedom. In many cases, these groups provide services and protection to local populations, filling the void left by the state. Regional dynamics further complicate the situation. Neighboring countries such as Uganda and Rwanda have been implicated in supporting armed groups within the DRC for political, economic, and strategic reasons. This external involvement not only exacerbates the conflict, but also intensifies the complexity of efforts aimed at resolving it. The interplay between these various armed groups, coupled with the broader regional and international influences, has made the DRC one of the most volatile and unstable regions in Africa. Something similar has also happened in Syria. In March, the country saw its deadliest wave of violence since the fall of the Assad regime in December. Over 1,300 people were killed in just 72 hours, including civilians, security forces, and militants. The bloodshed was concentrated in the coastal regions of Tartus and Latakia, home to the Alawite community, a minority group closely tied to the former regime. Reports indicated mass executions, revenge killings, and entire villages left in ruins as different militias clashed for control. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, SOHR, described the violence as one of the largest acts of collective revenge in the region, with entire families targeted. While the exact groups responsible remain unclear, the chaos was fueled by Assad loyalists resisting the new government and Sunni gunmen carrying out retaliatory attacks. Videos surfaced showing streets filled with bodies, military helicopters dropping bombs over rural areas, and grieving civilians mourning their loved ones. Interim President Ahmed al-Shara, who took power after Assad's fall, called for peace and promised an independent investigation into the killings. However, with HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, now leading the government, concerns have grown among religious minorities, including Alawites, Christians, and Druze, about their future under a group with extremist ties. The situation remains tense, and fears are mounting that Syria could spiral back into civil war if the violence continues, as both Congo and Syria face unimaginable suffering. Let's take a moment to pray for the safety of the people caught in the chaos. May they find peace and protection in the midst of these conflicts.